Grifton, Southside, Greenville, North Carolina.
You've been a constant friend, indeed. You were right there, providing for me.
Pastor Dave Lawson, United Gospel Outreach Church, Kinston, North Carolina.
And we also have
Robert Forbes.
All right, that's my son. And then we have
Elena Farrow, Kingdom Life Ministries, Greenville.
All right. Well, we're coming on one of the most beloved holidays of the season. And we also we're coming upon one of the most stressful holidays of the season. And a lot of us have to deal with different things, different people. Now that is Christmas. For many people, the holiday season is a time when they feel like an outsider. Everyone else seems to be surrounded by love and warmth while you feel alone, cold, and in the dark. As you walk through department stores to do a little Christmas shopping, attend work parties, or even as you sit in church surrounded by people singing Christmas carols, you cannot shake off the feeling of the dark, deep depression. This seems to build up inside of you with increasing intensity, even as you outwardly observe the joyfulness of the season. You are not alone. The thought of joining family members to celebrate Christmas may fill you with dread, resulting in feelings of guilt. Painful memories may reappear each Christmas, making you want to crawl into a hole and just wait it out. Perhaps you have lost someone close to you, and Christmas make you think of him or her. This is the message I want you to hear. You're not alone. There are ways to cope and even be able to partake in a little joy during the season. Here are some suggestions that can help you during this time. And let's go ahead on and unwrap our gifts. Pun intended. Let's unwrap that. Let me give a scripture. First of all, one of my favorite scriptures during this time is that life does not consist of the things you have. Your life does not consist of the things you have. Whether you no matter, and then it don't always consist of who's in that life with you. In other words, that people around you can make sure that you feel good and depressed on the holidays.
That's so true.
Can I get a witness?
That's so true. Amen.
God knows. Amen. And we have to realize that even though you might hang a little mistletoe over the door, maybe somebody don't want the, but let me switch that around. Somebody might hang the mistletoe. Somebody might be under the Christmas lights. Somebody might be under the tinsel. But at the same time, I have been in places during Christmas where I felt lonely in a full room of people. So let's talk about it. I open up the floor to anybody that want to go first.
Well, I think it's so ironic that there should be so much gloom and during the Christmas season. I think it to be ironic. Even on the commercial side, there seems to be all kinds of efforts to bring joy and an atmosphere of happiness, and that's on the natural side, but definitely on the spiritual side, it's just ironic that people would be gloom and depressed this time of the year, and I think it has to do with the perspective that people take, when it comes to the Christmas season. Now, here's a scripture that I think is very important to the Christmas season.
Okay.
Okay, in St. John chapter 3, verse 19, where Jesus said, this is the condemnation. This is the condemnation. That light is coming to the world, and men love darkness rather than light because their deeds were evil. The light that is coming to the world through Jesus Christ does not benefit a lot of people because they tend to love darkness more than they love light. So they reject what Christ brings. He brings light. Light is what we use to navigate our way through life. If you're in darkness, you get up in the middle of the night in your home where you live. You get up in the middle of the night and no lights are on, you're going to be stumbling, knocking stuff over, and you may fall from tripping over something. And so it is with life. You're navigating through life in darkness. You're tripping over stuff. You're hurting other people because you're bumping into them. And when you refuse the light, when you reject the light of life, then it's no wonder that there's so much depression and guilt and heavy burdens. Even with rich people, just this week, I think he was a billionaire. I know he's wealthy, committed suicide. And I'm like, what? You would think with all that money that you would find a way to be happy. But that's a perspective. I think it's a perspective that people take and sometimes put them in gloom and doom.
Yeah. I've seen, and we're going to go to you next, Elder. I've seen people that would sometimes them and their family and have anything. And when I'm saying nothing, I mean nothing. But they were just happy being together. And then you have other people can almost have the whole world and feel like they don't have anything at all. Elder, what do you have to say?
Well, I'm going to tell you what I think is that we don't really recognize, I guess we do, but a lot of people don't recognize the power of the commercialization. And I think a lot of the feelings that we're talking about come from that. It certainly doesn't come from scripture and what the initial response was to the birth of Christ. When you look at Luke and the announcement was made to the angels, to the shepherds, and once the angels told them, they rejoiced. So there was a spirit of joy. The commercialization that we experience has to do with what you have or what you can get or what you can afford. And we don't realize the power of that. It makes me think, a lot of people don't realize the power of advertising. I've heard people say, I don't buy because, yeah, you do buy because these people spend a lot of money figuring out how you think and what you buy. They do it online. They do it on television. They do it everywhere. That is a powerful tool that they use to make money. And it also gets into the spirit of people and how they think. And then they get depressed because they can't get what somebody else has. And they get caught up in this. It's like a vicious circle. So, I think we got to recognize what they have turned Christmas into.
This is so true.
That's so true. You have anything, Robbie? Okay. Right. We're moving right along. So we have to do a couple of things. One of the first things you need to do is acknowledge your feelings. Take time to listen to the chatter going on inside you. What is that? What it is making you feel sad? What is triggering your depression? Write about the memories you have of your lost loved one. Sometimes our present depression is rooted in past experiences that go back as far as childhood. Often the professional help of a Christian counselor can be a healthy tool to help you talk about your memories and your past experiences. This can not only assist you in getting through this holiday season productively, but it can also enable you to reach new levels of enjoyment and insight. You know, a lot of times we don't realize, you know, the different things that go on with us. How many Christmas movies have y'all seen where that, like with Ebenezer, but I'm gonna get it wrong, Ebenezer Scrooge, or little Christmas movies where you have them having, I guess, the ghost of Christmas and different things. And each time you look and see, they'll take them through different things that happen in their life. Remember when you were a little boy?
Yeah.
And this happened. And then you got or then you have a Christmas movie. I think I watched part of one, was it with Tony Braxton, one that we watched recently? Oh, okay, my bad. So at the very beginning of it, I think the person start off, they don't like Christmas, then they go show their dad just died, and this other loved one died. And so they called all the employees in that movie, hey, come on, y'all working today. Ain't nobody, they're like, we doing better than we did in the last 10 years. Like, it don't matter, we should have made more. Y'all going to work today. And then then you have, that's where the story begins. But a lot of times it's a lot of trauma and different things that happen to us that make us so that we don't enjoy this time. Not just it ain't just about Christmas time. It's about some of this is all the time. But it becomes under the microscope during Christmas time. You can see it a little closer.
You know, to that point, I just want to step in. It's interesting that you said it like that because I remember I was in Starbucks. I was going to Starbucks, and there was a barista that I knew, and he had experienced what you're talking about. I think one Christmas his father had committed suicide. Then I think another year his brother. So Christmas wasn't really a happy time for him because of those experiences. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's kind of what you're talking about. The experience that you've had around that date, you know what I'm saying, does affect people. So yeah, I see where you're coming from with that.
And that's something, because a lot of times, and then our children suffer. And Rob, how many kids would say that you probably know deal with depression and stress and having to live up just to social media pressure? Would you say that there's a lot, or what do you say to that? Come a little closer.
There's about 90%, I would say. 90%.
And a lot of kids are just trying to put on airs, as it speaks, because a lot of times you think of our children, they are, and I'm so glad I got it, when you finish high school and finish school, that pressure to impress each other. You know, people come there and, hey, what kind of shoes you got on, how you dress, look at your hair, look at this, look at that. That type of pressure is completely, I'm going to say it's completely over, because you still got immature adults everywhere and immature people. But just that type of pressure to compete. How do you as a young person deal with that pressure?
Really, I try not to deal with it because I know at the end there's nobody else to impress, you know, other than who I'm here for, and that's God. So as long as I'm impressing him, I don't need to impress anybody else.
Oh, that's
all
great.
All right.
That's great. Unfortunately, not many young people are going to have that revelation.
Yeah.
I remember when I was young, in my early years, in the neighborhood I lived in, everybody was poor. Nobody had nothing. So it was easy for me to feel good about myself. Well, let me put it this way. It was easy for me to feel not bad about myself. I didn't have nothing, but anybody else have anything either. So, wasn't nobody going nowhere. I mean, nobody nobody was successful. There may have been 3 families in my neighborhood that owned a car, and it would have been an old junkie. But then as I grew up and I left my neighborhood and start going other places, especially when as a teenager I went to Washington, D.C., now all of a sudden when I get up there, man, these people are like a whole new world. They're like aliens because they know stuff that I wasn't used to kids knowing stuff like that. I mean, some of them were at age 14, 15, when they wanted, they would go and steal somebody's brand new, nice, luxury car and ride around the city. Some of them were robbing banks and, they wore nice clothes and they had all this accent and speech and stuff. And I felt like, I was in a whole nother world. I was out of place. So now I began to feel bad about myself while I was up there. But then having been influenced by them, I come back home, man, around my folk, I felt real good. Like I was a little superior, know.
You know something. Now.
Yeah, I know some stuff they don't know. I've seen things, man. Come on. So it's all about, your environment and what's around you and how you see yourself in that environment. Now, I like what Robert said, because if your mindset is that I'm only trying to please God, then none of these other things in your environment are going to influence you, especially not to the extent of depression, because you're only trying to please God. You're not trying to impress your friends. You're not trying to compete, with those in your school who might be the best dressed, the most popular, that kind of thing. And that puts you in a good place. That puts you in a real good place because your focus is on God. Like the scriptures say, if your eye be single, then your whole body will be full of light.
And God bless you, Pastor, man. Thank you for joining us. Elder?
Yeah, that's some good, that's a good point. And I think Robert's perspective comes from you, Pastor Forbes. The teaching, that's important too. And I guess my word is to the parents. It's how you teach the children and how they come up helps them to deal with the things that are outside. How you teach them inside helps them to deal with things outside. So, I grew up, and kids can be cruel. I grew up in the system, if you ain't have on the right sneakers, you know what I'm saying? They kind of rode you, and you had to figure out how to deal. I know me and Pastor was talking about that the other day.
We had a good time laughing. I almost fell out on the floor. Elder, you can't tell that testimony online, or that just between me and you?
No, I'm just saying it's you ain't have on, like in my day it was the Chuck Taylors. You know what I'm saying? If you didn't have on and you had on what they call I can't think of what I'm saying.
US Kids.
Pro Kids.
Yeah, you had on those. Nah, they rode you. And I think social media just amplifies what was already happening. It just takes it to another level.
Yeah.
But that perspective that you learn how to deal with comes from the home, I think. I think you have now, even if you get that, you still got to deal with these things. You know what I'm saying? It's you can I'm gonna say this one thing and then I'm gonna quit. I remember one time, we were kind of struggling a little bit, and Mom sent me to get some. The government was giving out the food, and she sent me with the cardboard. I was embarrassed, didn't want to be seen by the boys because they're gonna tease you for getting help. You see what I'm saying? So I think we have to look at this thing and how you raise your children to deal with these things and understand these things is a big deal.
That is so true. We about maybe want to fall out laughing because I remember me and him, Elder made me lose track of time real big on Sunday. We just laughed and laughed and laughed. And I'll probably bring up some memories that I have, and y'all can be willing to do it as well. But a lot of us, and it's bad because some kids don't know, this too shall pass.
That's right.
Yeah, when whatever you're going through, you can make decisions on your own that can change the trajectory of your life. And even if they don't change, you still got to remember, your life does not consist of the things you do and do not have. You can't. That's as an adult. That says all of us. But on that note, we will be back in the next few ticks. You listen to Real Talk for Real Men on Awesome Radio, 106.9 on your radio dial. What a great way to start your day.
The conversion therapy ban in America seems to keep growing. Stay tuned.
Ministries today can never be too careful, as you're about to hear on today's Legal Alert. Here's attorney David Gibbs Jr.
A kind pastor called our offices at the Christian Law Association because he had a troubled teen girl come to him saying that she was considering becoming transgender, changing her gender. However, this pastor knew his state and had some type of ban on this issue, so he called us at the Christian Law Association. Our attorneys sadly confirmed that New Jersey was one of the growing number of states that banned conversion therapy. That is, you cannot try to counsel someone out of making these decisions. Fortunately, we were aware of some legal details that enabled the pastor to provide biblical counseling for this confused teenager. Though the secular authorities do everything they can to discourage this, we were able to provide a solution. Pray that teens can still be counseled with the Word of God and a loving pastor.
Our free newsletter addresses lots of issues, like the ones we've been discussing today. It's an invaluable tool. Why not sign up for it now at christianlaw.org. christianlaw.org.
Thank you for listening to WBISLP 106.9 FM Awesome Radio.
Surely in the family, God is with me. Surely in the family, God is with me. Surely in the family, God is with me.
Hey, listen, if you want to call in the studio and have some input, if you want to wish somebody a Merry Christmas, we will allow that. You could call us at 252-756-2008. Or if you just want to come on and wish somebody a happy birthday, I'm going to take that time and do it now myself. My wife's birthday is Saturday, so I want to say happy birthday to you. Love you, sweetheart. I ain't going to go deep into it because I can and get sidetracked. And also, my birthday was just earlier this week. And my son told me about the Chinese Lantern Festival. And we went down to that, and we had a good time doing that and went to the mall yesterday. I'm trying to get me a Christmas feel going on. It just seemed like this year I just cannot. Don't. But I did have a moment. I really did enjoy. Somebody got together and they took a band and they played Christmas music. They had Christmas music going on in the mall we went to. So that did help a little bit, but I guess I'm just gonna have to be happy for Christ. I got Christ because I just can't. You know how it is. Sometimes you feel that fa la 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 la, and I don't. I feel more of a bah humbug in my spirit.
I've never felt the fa la 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 la.
But I'm glad. Nevertheless. No, I'm kidding, y'all. I'm happy. I got joy. You know, I do that. Go ahead, Elder.
I was gonna say something. I know y'all, y'all Laker Nation folks, but
you really
condolences to Steeler Nation. You know, Franco Harris passing.
Yes,
he was one of the greats, man. You know, and so I just wanted to shout that out. You know
what?
Because we have a pretty good sized Steeler fan base here too.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, they still holding on. I mean, there ain't a whole lot to cheer about, but yeah, there's still a big fan base.
And Saturday, which they had said, thank you, Pastor May. He said happy birthday to us. Saturday would have been 50 years when he caught what they called the Immaculate Reception.
Yeah.
That would have been right up to 50 years. And it was interesting this week. they were doing interviews. They did an interview with him that they started playing this week, and then for him to die yesterday, that was something because he was able to talk about it. He said he barely even remembered catching the ball. I said, wow. And it was really odd looking. Y'all have to go back and look at the footage.
Yeah, I
but
remember
it was just something else. I would love to say, oh, yeah, I remember that moment, but it was 1 year before I was born.
Yeah,
actually, almost one whole year before at least before Crystal.
I was watching that game.
Yeah. So
yeah, I was. And I heard it. I heard an interview with Terry Bradshaw. Talking about it too. Actually, I heard an interview with him and Terry Bradshaw talking about it. He wasn't. There wasn't no like long sickness or anything because just a couple of days ago, he had an interview.
Yeah.
But they talk about him as a good person too. Not just his football talent, but just loved in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
And I think that's important. When people can say you were a good person too. Yes. It's not just the talent, because you can have talented people that are not good people.
That is so true. Yeah. That is so true. Go ahead.
Christmas is about to be known for the suicides that occur during the season. I hate to go back to that, but that's really what I think. That's really the topic that we're trying to address. Why people get so depressed this time of the year when it ought to be a time of joy. And so when we look at this season, I think a lot of Stephen Twitch, Boss.
Oh yes.
Committing suicide. And when you look at the headlines, you see, if you just Google suicides, you see that they've been suicides over the last couple of weeks. They've been suicides everywhere. And now it's getting to be murder suicide. People that don't just want to go, they want to take somebody with them.
That's all.
They want to take their gloom and despair. They want to take it out on somebody else. So I'm going to kill you, and then I'm going to kill myself so that I get away with it. And it's just so many. I'm not going to try to read them out. And again, it's so ironic that this time of the year bring people down so low. And the bottom line is, it's just a matter of perspective. What we see this time of year representing, and on the commercial side, it pretty much reminds us of how messed up and in the dark our lives are. Christmas is supposed to be a time when everything is supposed to light up. It's supposed to be lights everywhere.
Holding hands, everybody happy, all this money,
and
everybody
that just underlines your darkness. When all these lights come on, it just underlines, how dark your life is when you see all these lights and so forth. So
I got a question. Do you think it's spiritual?
Oh, it's definitely spiritual.
It's
definitely spiritual. I believe that there is a spiritual force behind all depression. Mm-hmm. Okay, God don't want you depressed. so that means it's got to be the devil that's feeding depression into your life for a purpose. He doesn't just feed depression into your life because he just want to sit there and look at you, but it's a purpose. He has an end game for feeding that kind of temperament into your life, that kind of emotion into your life. He has an end game. He wants to kill, steal, and destroy.
Agreed. And I think as believers, when we understand that, and so I think we understand how to deal with it. It's I think when it's taught, when the truth is taught, the light. I like when you're talking, Pastor Lawson, about the darkness. We bring the light, and we need to share that more. The light. You understand what I'm saying? We need to take the shade off the candlestick and let the light shine and the truth.
Yeah, sit it on a ear.
And that's why I like to talk about. Sometimes I like to talk about the truth of the birth of Christ. You know what I'm saying? Because we let lies ease in. See, lies tend to ease in. They don't come in full force. They just ease in a little bit at a time. It's just a little bit off. You know what I'm saying? Then it's a little bit more off.
Spirit work.
And next thing you know, it's full blown. But that's just a thought.
Yeah, on that point that you're making, I wonder what would happen if we had Robert in a room with some of his peers, and he make the statement that he made earlier, that he's not, he don't find himself having to deal with peer pressure because he feels like, I got to please God, and if I please God, I'm okay. I wonder what kind of feedback we get back from other
negative
people his age. Yeah. When you talk about, having to wear the best clothes and the name brands and hanging with the popular crowd and all this kind of stuff, having people speak well of you and all that. I wonder what kind of feedback we get from other young people, because that's a dynamic, revelation. I want to say to Robert, like, Jesus said to Peter, flesh and blood didn't reveal that. Flesh and blood didn't reveal that to you.
What's the feedback?
I think
a little closer to the mic.
I think because I only say that because I carry on a whole lot of the pressures, and I listen to people who have a whole lot going on in their lives. So when it comes to peer pressure and all that, and I know people talk, obviously. But what I always say even to those people who are going through, I say, if they're talking about, they're just carrying on your name in some way. And when they say that they care about you, they ain't your friend or anything, why are they still bringing up your name? So it's like,
yeah. You know what? There was something that you were telling me about that game that they got on TikTok. What was that game called? But we'll come back to it. We'll come back to it after this. Well, you listen to Real Talk for Real Men. We'll be back after the sponsorship break. See you in one moment.
Partial funding for this program is brought to you by Blessed Hands Car Wash and Detail Plus, 2016 Chestnut Street, Greenville. Vehicle inspections, U-Haul rentals, spick and span hand vehicle wash and detail. That's Blessed Hands, 252-413-0609. Open Monday through Saturday, 8 o'clock a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. Blessed Hands Car Wash and Detail Plus, 2016 Chestnut Street, Greenville, 252-413-0609. Thank you, Blessed Hands Car Wash and Detail Plus, for your support.
Hi, this is Cheryl Walters. You're listening to Awesome Radio.
Surely in the family, God is with me. Surely in the family, God is with me. Surely in the family, God is with me.
All right, we're back on 106.9 FM on your radio dial, WBISLP. If you would like to call in, you can call in at 252-756-2008. We were just talking. What was the name? It was a game on TikTok. It's like the kids would say something, but it seemed like it would be something good, but they turn around and say, what was that game?
it would be like if somebody had like it wouldn't have to be like a bad hair day, just because the person wouldn't like their hair, they would say it's the hair for me or it's the shoes for me.
Yeah.
That little stuff right there, they were doing actually in our classroom while the teacher wasn't looking about 3 weeks ago, and it turned into
something ugly.
Something very
whereas it should be a compliment. They would turn around and like, so and so is so. Shannon's braces look crooked, or it's Shannon hair, or, or something, and then they would diss each other. And whereas it's supposed to have been something, could have been something nice, they were saying something ugly about each other and put it all over TikTok. And I looked at some of it, and one girl, I just was amazed how ugly and toxic. She's a pretty girl, smart girl, but how toxic she is. And what she said about somebody that already was struggling with depression real bad. And so it just amazes me how kids have to deal with stuff we don't have to deal with. Like, I remember when I used to get bullied, or when I was young, I think round about all the way up to maybe 6th grade, a lot of mine kind of slowed down after that because I became kind of toxic myself. So, but it was amazing to me how in 5th and 6th grade, they say 5th and 6th grade is actually the worst because kids are going through puberty, and that's where kids just diss each other. And you would get bullied, but it was between the time of maybe 7:30 in the morning on the bus, maybe to 3 or 4 o'clock, and then it was over 3:30 or 3 o'clock. But now kids actually getting bullied, and it is actually lasting all 24 hours because you can go on TikTok and see it. Some people start a fight, jump some kid, and beat them up and rob them of their dignity and put it all over social media. And I think that's horrible. And then kids are getting depressed. I remember I was telling Elder one time, I used to tell my mom, I think when Jordans first came out, were they $100 or $200? Were they about $200?
They were close to 100 when they first came.
Okay.
When they first came.
Okay,
out. And $100 was a lot of money.
Yes, it was.
We're talking way back in the early 90s, late 80s.
80s.
When they first started making them. Yeah.
Now watch this. Now I want to bring that up. My mom, I used to talk about I love Jordans. I would go in and look at them. My mom would be smiling, and she said, "Oh, you like them? Yes, I love them." I was just excited. She said, "Okay, we'll see what Christmas time how things go." So I was excited, and man, my birthday is right before Christmas. My birthday on the 20th. My mom gave me that box. I opened that box. It was black and red box, and I opened it up. And I saw I could see the Jordan looking shoe in it. Pulled that box open, and my mom got me some Air Stadia. And I looked at it, looked like Jordan, but the what we call the Swiss sign won't quite deformed. It looked like maybe it had a deformity, a birth defect. And I'm looking at that Swiss sign, and I said, "Oh, I think it had like a little piece out of it missing." And I looked at it, and I said, "Oh, this ain't Jordan." My mama smiling with that big old sunshiny smile. She said, "You like them?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." I lied. And I had that smile, but I knew, I'm about to get roasted. Then I went and looked at the shoe price. It was $64. I'm like, nah, I don't really wear name brand shoes anyway. $64, you could have got me some any kind of Nike, and I would have looked nice, or whatever shoe it was. But I didn't ever tell my mom because I knew my mom was a single mother doing for me and my sister. And so I wore them shoes, and I just joined in. I said, shoot, everybody else ain't gonna get a joke. I can't get one in on them. So I joked about them until people saw it didn't bother me. They left me alone. And I wore those shoes, but I thought to myself, and that's the type of pressure children feel sometimes. And a lot of times as a young man, since we're talking about real talk for real men, young people can't come and tell, one time you could go tell your mom could come to school, straighten things out. Or daddy could come to school, straighten things out. But when you get about 7th, 8th grade, that ain't cool no more. You got to deal with that pain and depression. And you can't have your mama going out there. And you leave my baby alone. His hair might be naughty, but it's mine. My son. And you can't do that no more. And it gets tough from that point on. As young men, we have a cross to bear. Pastor May said, everyday life is a pressure, but what hurt is how long you hold the pressure inside of you. And I have a good friend, Apostle Danny Gardner, says, he used to say this for years. When we were young men, he said, pressure busts pipes. Yes. He said, coldness and pressure can bust a pipe. And I used to hear him say it, and even as a young man, it had a lot of truth to it because you can have a lot of pressure on you. And a lot of times you don't have a reprieve with nobody to go to. Elder, what you got to say about that?
Oh no, I'm just listening to what you're saying, and I think it's true. The thing that comes to my mind now, the school where maybe 100 or so people in the school. You know what I'm saying? And then in your close contact, it may not even be that many that actually would hear us back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, thousands of people are sharing into that. You see what I'm saying? That ridicule that you're getting. It's not just in that local school. It's done shot out into the I say the atmosphere, but it's shot out into the world with social media. So it's just something that we're seeing the signs of the time, you know, where things are getting, but you know, like we say in the scripture, you know, when that but comes in, you know, God is still the same.
Yeah,
that's right. We have a comment. Brother Ellison said, "Church must be transparent, but not until we delivered. We can share as a testimony, not how." And he names a famous person, gospel person that a lot of us know of, did like she did, saying she's still drinking while leading worship. And I know of the person. She actually, one of her ways to get people to come to church, she said she actually was handing out cigarettes. She you get a pack of Newports or whatever. You come on to church this Sunday.
Jamal Bryant's going to do that, but it's going to be a different
Pastor
kind of
Lawson
cigarette.
called his whole name out. Go ahead, though. I'll try.
Yeah, but it's already on social media all over.
It is open. It's fair game.
Yeah.
He want to grow weed on the church property. So moving on, moving right along.
Let me say that you know, we're talking about peer pressure and how people are influenced by their environment. There are also other things that are very strong agents in the environment that are causing depression in people's lives. There are economic issues like the rise in cost of maintaining a home for your family. There are so many people that are homeless, and that I know a lot of homeless people have addictions and they're on alcohol, and then there's the mental health issue.
And there's a whole lot of them that don't have any of that. They
don't have
they
any
ran
of that.
across
It's
a
just
string of bad
economic.
situations.
It's just the economic thing that put them out on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
Rise in cost of housing and so forth. I've run into quite a few in the last few weeks that we tried to help. That you know, single
It's
mothers
horrible.
with children, small children with nowhere to go. And they have rules in the homeless shelter. This particular young girl had a newborn baby and two children that were like 4 and 5. And she was not able to stay to the homeless shelter because there was a risk that the shelter would have with her having 3 kids. They could take her and the newborn baby, but the 2 small children would be at risk because they don't have the accommodations.
Right.
So that disqualified her from even being able to stay at the shelter. That is a bad situation to be in. But that's another thing that people are facing in these times that we're living in. Economic issues are depressing people, and then there are health issues. People experiencing all kinds of health issues that's causing a lot of pain and problems in people's lives.
That is so true. You know, one thing that I was shocked to find out, the amount of young people that are living homeless, like graduated school and homeless. I mean, I know quite my older son got young people that he know that are living in that, you know, he told us about they were living in their cars. And me and my wife, we went walking, it was this month, and we were walking a trail, and we saw a young man that was out in his car, nice car, but he would warm his car up every few seconds. He would do different things. He went to the bathroom, and they had a little bathroom in the area of the trail. He would go to the bathroom, and I said, "Chris, I believe he's homeless." And lo and behold, we came the next day, and there he was parked in the same spot. While we were kind of walking, I said, "That young man's probably homeless." But go ahead.
Sorry.
No, we're good.
No, I was going to say, you know, we got to look at all the implications and what causes those things. I think it's a lot of it is systemic. You know what I'm saying? It's the system. It's a lot of greedy people. let's call it what it is. It's just a lot of greedy folk. You know, just like they put those folks out on Arlington. They had that apartment complex. You know what I'm saying? And they put the folks out. Then they fix up the place. You know, that's, to me, I'm just saying, using that as an example. There's a lot of greed involved in how the structure of apartments and things like that, and raising rents and raising prices. It's not just the raising of prices is not all about inflation. A lot of it's about greed. You know, they're making record profits, and yet, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, we got to look at the whole picture, and we help the best you can. I heard you, Pastor Lawson. You know, you try to help as best you can, you know. But I just wanted to throw that part of it in too, you know.
Yes, if people's hearts were more pure, you know, it would be a whole different situation. I think greed is why you hear people running away from, you know, they don't like to hear the word socialism or anything like that. The truth of the matter is, no society can be successful without having some level of socialism, where people are taken care of, where you're looking out for those that are less fortunate, where the leadership take the responsibility to say, we're not going to leave people behind. You know, we're not going to leave people in the streets. And people run from that because they want to be able to gobble up all the money that they can get. You know, when you're a multi-billionaire, that's more money than you can use for the rest of your life. It's more money than what your children can use for the rest of their lives. And you don't want to share that. You know, that's just terrible. And when you hear some of them say, well, I gave $1 million here and $1 million there, that's like me giving $10, you know. So, but you know, that greed is why some people got so much more than what they need, while others have so much less than what they need.
It makes me think, this kind of does a circle for me. Me and Pastor was talking one time. We were talking about, you know, Jesus said, the poor you're going to have with you always. And he said that to the thief who act like he wanted to help the poor. Right. I just wanted to bring that in. Yeah. You know, he act like he wanted to help the poor. Jesus was like, the poor you're going to have. Let her worship. You know what I'm saying? You know, and so, you know, it's one of those things we just have to deal with.
Now, Judas had his hand in the bag. Judas had his hand in that bag. But yeah, we need to sell this and give it to the poor. Me.
Yeah, don't be taking out of the bag. I was going to steal that.
Yeah. Y'all need to sell that. Y'all wasting that on Jesus.
And that's something. Just kind of throw this in there under the thing. You know, he had the thief with him in his crew.
Mm-hmm. And knew it.
And never called him out. Never.
And let him be over the money on top of it.
He was the treasurer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's a role for everybody.
That's right. You know, and you know, we got to be careful. Now, Brother Ellison he's talking about this public figure. And this is the thing. It's amazing how much people do actually say they do for the community, but they do it to cloak over the mess that they do. So whenever somebody try to call them out, they start talking about all they do for the community.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how your boy about to get me called. How Judas did the moment he started seeing how they were going to use that on Jesus. The first thing he did say, hey, we can get this to the poor. So let's be careful. Let's be good. Let's don't treat people bad either. I noticed there was a movie that was kind of documenting the part of the civil rights time. And in that movie, all the people of the different race had absolutely no problem raising stuff for quote unquote the poor blacks, but they didn't mind mistreating them either and absconding them. And they went on and you get what I'm saying? Yeah. And we do have to live a godly life. But going to it. So let's do a couple of things. Number one, let's kind of look around. Now it's hard to do now. Back in the day, you could go look in your church and see who on there. Now you're gonna have to call some folks. Let's call some people. Some people are having a rough time during this season. Matter of fact, the moment I said it, I just started some people right in my own congregation. On my birthday, I think, before we went out of town, I had to go check on somebody that was in the hospital that generally don't come to church, but I know, you know what I'm saying? Then I had somebody else that generally haven't been in church, had some things going on. So it ain't necessarily everybody that's sitting in the church that's looking at you. There are people that you know and you love, you need to reach out to. Pastor May said, what Jesus did, it came from the heart, and we as Christians should do the same. On that note, I want to give everybody a good 30 seconds to go ahead and have a comment. Pastor Lawson.
Jesus is the light of the world, and then he say to us, ye are the light of the world, which means we're the ones that's got to carry the torch and spread that light in the lives of people that are around us, as many as we can reach. Spread that light so that they won't have to walk in darkness. The word of God is the light of life.
Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill towards men.
Robert, you got 30 seconds.
I would like to say value yourself, not also self-love, but trust your foundation, trust where you are, have hope in what you'll do, and love.
Amen.
God.
Well, I want to say, I know they say Jesus is the reason for the season, but he's our reason every day.
Yeah.
Every day. And so let's go somewhere. Let's spread light. Let's be salt. Let's fight the contamination. Let's show love during not just this season, because it's easy. No, because Jesus would say, hey, look, hypocrites do that. That's easy to do. Everybody want to go and work at the homeless shelter, or work and give food during Christmas time to be seen or to feel good about themselves. But how about we do a little bit of that more and more each day? Let's be a light. Let's love one another. And so on that note, let's be good. Let's check on people. Let's show people that we say we love, that we love them. It ain't always about the what you have in your hand, but it's how you display it out of your heart. Remember that Jesus is the reason for the season. He's also the reason for every day. On that note, you listen to Real Talk for Real Men. See you next week.